Good evening. Welcome to this month's Town Administrators Report. I'm David Watts Jr., and with me is our Town Administrator, Steve Maio. Steve, welcome.
Thank you, David. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing good.
This is our first show of the fall.
Fallish, anyway.
Fallish.
But
the weather's starting slowly to change.
And I'm frankly looking forward to some crisp days, to tell you the truth.
And we're taping this show the day after a partial lunar eclipse, which was kind of interesting last night.
You must have been up late. I have to go to bed way earlier than that.
It was at 10:45.
I know. That's way too. If I don't have a meeting, that's way too late for me.
I see. Okay. All right. But this month, what we're going to talk about, and yes, we realize we have back-to-back shows on this subject, but recently, traffic bumps were installed southbound on Farm Street just before the Woodville School and northbound on Farm Street just before the high school baseball field, not far from the intersection of Old Nahant Road and Farm Street.
Correct. So
the first question is, why? What prompted this?
Well, as you know, as everybody knows right now, you almost need to think of the Farm Street, Hemlock Road, Nahant, Old Nahant Road corridor altogether, almost as a big construction zone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've got certainly the Woodville School that's in session, the high school that's in session, but there are two schools being built that are traversing over that area right now. Mm-hmm. The Wakefield High School and the vocational school, which uses Hemlock Road to get up to where that site is. So, you know, the police, DPW, fire, school department, along with the contractor, which built the Galvin, great group, Bond Contracting. There's been some concerns about, you know, we knew it was going to be a tight site. It's a very tight site. There's really, think of one bottleneck. Everything's coming into that same area. So a lot of changes were made in the area, including, we'll start with those two speed tables. They're not the speed bumps we used to be, but we're very narrow. These are a lot wider, speed tables. There'll also be one that is either has been installed or will be installed once the rest of the work is done up at the lot up on Hemlock there, because people coming down Hemlock Road are driving pretty fast too. Mm-hmm. This was really to slow everything down in this corridor where there are trucks and people. There's temporary, you know, access to the different schools. So it really was completely for a safety measure, and thinking of it as a, you know, a construction kind of corridor way to do it. So that's why. It was done for your safety.
Well, but it's interesting because several years ago we had a discussion about Greenwood Avenue, where I live, and the high-speed traversing of that between the Five Corners and Pittman Avenue. And at the time, speed bumps were considered impossible because of the fact that there's a school there and it would impede fire response.
Right.
So how is it that this set, which encloses three schools, Woodville, the high school, and the Voc School, because the Hemlock Road is the common entrance and exit for the latter two, is okay, but that where there are families and children involved isn't.
Well, maybe they would be okay if we looked at it again at Greenwood. This is temporary, number one.
Yeah.
They'll be pulled up November-ish, you know, before the snow flies, because they can't be plowed over or shouldn't be plowed over. You do have a different corridor, a different width, different access to the buildings in the area. And, you know, this was really the concern where you have a lot of cars coming in, unfamiliar access or exiting right now. So it was done to really calm and slow that whole traffic down was the greater good. So that's really for now.
Because it is a conduit between 128
and Route 1.
And Route 1 through Salem Street and Main Street in Saugus.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
No, I agree. Yeah, it's a very well-traveled road, particularly probably the same time when school is arriving. Maybe not so much when people are leaving, but arriving. A lot of commuters
But an
going through the same
interesting
thing.
side effect of that has been that now getting out of Old Nahant, especially late in the afternoon or during morning, is especially challenging now.
Yeah, it is going to be this is not the first school we've built together, or we've talked about together, David,
Right,
anyway.
that's true.
It is going, during those years of, the couple of years of construction that we're going to go through, it's going to really require patience from everybody. People are going to have to slow down, and I get it. I don't like it either. I know that things happen in the morning. You're rushing to try. Little thing happens. You didn't get the breakfast done on time, or you got up 10 minutes late for whatever reason, and all of a sudden everyone's in a rush. So it is going to be it is going to be some patience needed. The other thing is that I guess that no matter when you introduce traffic calming measures like this, introducing them before the start of school when everything is different. And let's face it, the first day of school is zoomp. Everybody comes in at the same time.
That's right.
So you need to, people will find their kind of their sweet spot in the patterns and maybe do a few things like that. So yeah, it's gonna be a challenge, and we get that, we know that. But the number one priority is the student safety, and the subject matter experts really felt this was the safest way to go.
And where do we stand on that approach? I'm assuming they're observing it on a daily basis.
We've already made one tweak since the beginning of school. We limited parking on the west side of Farm Street across from the Woodville School. And that was an area where parents, because obviously the elementary school kids don't drive.
Right.
And those parents are picking up in the afternoon, parents and grandparents. We have to say grandparents now because we're in that mode.
Yes, we are.
So we've already, that area that wasn't used, we've allowed it to be used again as it was before, moved that back. We've also allowed for more student parking that wasn't allowed for before, up Farm Street, again on the west side of Farm Street, past Old Nahant, between Nahant and Old Nahant Road. Not when there's driveways and those issues, but allowing more parking up there. And hopefully, in another month or so, November-ish, the lot up on Hemlock, which we're adding 50, 60 spaces to, will be all set and will be opened and restriped and will be ready for the students to go back to the high school students.
Now, this is the old lot that existed across from the football field
Exactly.
before construction began.
Before construction began, yeah. And we're expanding that because we knew that we would need more spaces for the high school. So that'll take some of the edge off of what's on Farm Street, too.
Now, do I understand correctly that to also control the number of student cars, there was a lottery this year?
There was a lottery this year at the school department. I'm happy to say I had nothing to do with that, so no one can call me. Call Dr. Lyons. There was a lottery to get into the student lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which when you and I went to school, very few seniors had cars.
Yes.
So it was less of an issue, right?
It was more the, for lack of a better term, better off families.
Yes, exactly.
That the kids had cars. Yeah.
I mean, I walked or took the bus every year. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Most of us didn't get a car until after graduation.
Right.
Yeah. But very different today, and I know my oldest grandson's already probably got in the back of his mind,
yeah.
Hey, I'm going to get this.
Well, it's a different time, right? I mean, in those days, maybe it was a one car per family.
Well, and that's the other thing. Most families only had one car.
Then it went to two, and then then 2 plus. I mean, my kids growing up, there were probably one point there were 5 cars parked at our house. My wife and I and the 3 boys. So it's a little bit different. So
Yep. Yep.
yeah, but I think that, we spent a lot of time, we'll be reviewing it again. We constantly review it, looking for better ways to manage that whole process and so people safely get to and from the school. And I got to say, the PTOs, particularly the Woodville PTO, has been really great about kind of working with a drop-off queuing where, you don't have to get out of your car necessarily.
Yep.
They can open it, allow your child or children to get out, close the door, and then you can move on without parking or moving or doing anything like that.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
but I do get it, is that for some parents, that's very tough. They want to kind of do that walking themselves. So, we're trying to, get through what is going to be a very frustrating situation, I think, until people really get through it and figure out the best way that works for them. And we review it all the time. I talk with the superintendent every day. I talk with police every day. So it's DPW every day. So it's we'll continue to review the situation.
Now, you say that these are temporary until winter.
The
In
speed
the
tables.
spring,
Yeah.
yes. In the spring, will they be coming back?
Well, we'll review that. I mean, that's up for discussion at this point. I think that they have managed to certainly slow down, and it is a traffic calming measure in itself. So that's a good thing, but it's something that we will look at and see how it worked out. I mean, I get it. Not everybody likes it. Some people think they're great because it slows everything down. So
When school is not in session, a lot of people go around.
yeah, it's kind of hard to
on
go
the-
around.
on the
I understand.
median.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. Some cars can make it, some cars are too
Yeah.
wide, and
Exactly.
one side goes up and over.
Yeah. That's
But,
probably not the best thing in the world, but okay.
What are there any other mitigations that are being considered for the winter when the
Well,
tables can't
we're
be
going to
out?
have to do a really good job of removing the snow
Yeah.
better over there because, and hopefully we'll have, knock on wood, a mild winter. Because if we have,
Shouldn't have said that.
I know,
now.
I said knocked on wood, I jinxed ourselves. You and I both remember a few years ago where we had to eliminate parking on behind the Greenwood School because
Oh,
the
yes.
mounds were so high and it was unsafe.
Yes.
So we
Winter
have
of 2015,
yeah,
when we had 6 or
yeah.
7 storms, one right after the other.
We haven't had that in a while, and let's hope that we don't. We'll have to be really vigilant in getting rid of the snow, quickly.
Right, right.
I think you'll see more like how we move the snowbanks downtown. We'll have to see more of that, clearing that out around the high school and the Woodville school in particular, because that's tough. And it's interesting that both of those schools are right on a major roadway.
Right.
We don't have some communities have, a long driveway that's going to the school. So there's a long way to queue off of the main drag in some other communities. But this is right on a main thoroughfare.
And we have a few schools like that in Wakefield, but at the same time, Greenwood's on Main Street,
Yeah.
you know.
Same sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Is it Doyle that isn't very far off?
Yeah. But Doyle has a
Alvin
nice
Street,
queuing. Doyle has a little bit of queuing. I was thinking of Ewell has a great queuing coming around and about.
Yeah, unfortunately, that one isn't
That was
being
really
used
not
by the
being used
town
by
right
us,
now,
but
which
still.
is which is kind
still.
of too bad because going off on a tangent just for a minute, a significant number of Greenwood students are being bused to Woodville,
Yeah.
and which is now overcrowding Woodville, and yet we have this fantastic school that's in great shape that was built originally because of overcrowding in the
Right.
Greenwood school,
District. Yeah.
and could be brought back to, say, take the kindergarten and first grader
Yeah.
kids, and then second, third, and fourth in the
Right.
original building.
Which is what they did when my kids were going there.
Yes,
My kids went. Yeah.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, and use it once again. But
That's
it
possible.
also means taking it back
Right.
from the entity that's leasing it at the moment.
It is possible. But I don't want anybody to think that's on the radar right now, because it's not.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But, and then we have other schools that are still within the town, but not being used as schools at the moment.
Well, really just one
Heard?
Heard.
Yeah.
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 I wouldn't even call that a school anymore, because that was turned over from the school department to the town. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not in any shape to be
no,
used.
it would take a substantial amount of money to bring that back up,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it would have anyway. I mean, with the de-leading and all of those things.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Old construction.
Old construction. Yeah.
So what else do we have to look forward to town-wise in the next month?
Well, I think in the next month we will certainly be putting together the fall town meeting, which is
Yep.
going to be on November 16th, which is a Saturday.
Yep.
I think it's the 16th. I should check that date. But it is that Saturday of that weekend.
Well, the next show will be the preview to the
Right.
town meeting anyway, so yeah.
Yeah, so at that one, we'll have our typical, balancing the budget kind of articles, finance report for last year, fiscal year '24, which ended very well for the town. We'll go through that. There will be an article regarding adding solar panels to the roof of the Galvin School. The Galvin School was built solar ready.
Right.
And what solar ready means, I don't really know. I mean, you and I aren't those technicians, but it does have the conduit, so to speak.
Probably
know.
put the panels on the roof and hook it all
Hopefully
up.
that's it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping for. So that's something that actually, when in looking at the prospectuses on that, it's probably a payback period of 4 years or 5 years. Not bad in savings. Really good in savings, and it's better for the planet and better for our carbon footprint and all those things.
And that'll be the third town building that will go totally solar.
Correct. Because the high school that's being built now will be built totally
Right,
solar.
and the MGLD
And the
building,
MGL,
which
right,
we've talked about in a previous
So
show.
really some good things that
Yeah.
have been going on there. I think the biggest item at the November town meeting will be the 40A, a new 40A MBTA district. If you've been following the kind of forums and meetings that we have, a couple of things were made clear by the public, and certainly clear what happened before, is that this will be a minimal area and number of units for compliance, with a little bit of a cushion in case the state throws something out, but not anything huge. So if the state number, that their capacity number they're looking at Wakefield to provide for lack of a better word, is 1696. You're talking about something that within that model might produce 1711 or something like that. So very close. The other, so minimal compliance, but minimal numbers. We also, at this point, the subcommittee is looking at kind of putting the new, the MBTA district kind of right on top of areas that are already built. So the whole Foundry Street area that's already built or under construction.
Which makes sense because it's walking distance from the station.
It is, and it's kind of, people have asked, how do we get credit for what we've already built? This is kind of how.
Yeah.
You kind of superimpose this on top of
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Wakefield Crossing, which was built years ago in that same area.
Sure.
Taking a look maybe at Albion Street between Main and North Ave, areas of North Ave, Greenwood, Main Street in Greenwood, again, near the Greenwood station. And
You already have a significant number of
Exactly.
apartments existing, as well as two-family houses within walking distance in Greenwood.
exactly, and this would be kind of superimposed on that area as well. So I imagine that will be some robust conversations like we had before. And There's already been a number of meetings on this, at least one public forum. There'll be another public forum coming up next week from this broadcast. So I anticipate there being a lot of discussion about that at town meeting. Other than that, you never know because the warrant is open. So
Right.
citizens could put in petitions.
When does the warrant close?
The warrant closes, I think, the 4th of March. Excuse me, 4th of March. That's a long time. The 4th of October. The 4th of October, yes.
Which is not that far away.
Not that far
and
away.
will be before the next taping.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the 16th, I was correct, is when town meeting will be on the 16th, on that day, at the Galvin Middle School. So, yeah, that's what's going now. Other things that are going on in town that we just completed speaking of why we have some of these parking and traffic issues, speaking of the high school, we just completed our first major borrowing on the new building. The rate came in at 3.63%, which I'm very happy about. Very pleased about, part and parcel because we maintained our AAA bond rating, and we had gone out to the public during the presentations on the high school project, giving a range of anywhere from 4.25% to 5.25%, and coming in below that. I'm really thrilled about that with our team, financial team. Kevin Gill, our town accountant, John McCarthy, our town treasurer. So that is a nice benefit to the taxpayer. So those costs will be less. But that's only for half. We'll be going out for the other half shortly, either next year or probably at the end of next year sometime. And we certainly don't want to borrow the money and pay interest on it too early.
Right.
Because feathering it in is better for the taxpayers. So hopefully those rates hold or go down a little bit, which would be even better. So I think that seems to be on track. The project for the high school is on track, time-wise, on budget, or under budget actually at this point, but it is early.
Sure.
I always like to think that, you know what, when you get all that steel up, you can give a little bit of a sigh.
Right.
That very little bit of a sigh, because you have all the other things to do. But once
right now,
that's
it's
up,
still site prep largely.
site prep, but you do see the foundation starting to take around the perimeter. So that's kind of interesting. And the steel for the project will start being delivered probably in early to mid-October. So that's just a month from.
That's quite quick.
That's a month from our meeting here today.
Yeah.
That again, that's when you start seeing a lot of larger trucks delivering to the site. Our goal is to have those trucks come in early in the morning, 6 o'clock, before people start getting, start coming to the school for either work as teachers and other members of the school department, and certainly the students. Get them in and out quickly. So that's our goal there. It's not the first time we've gone through this. We had to do this with the Galvin again. It's very, very difficult to build a new school on a tight site.
Well, and especially since that one is so close to the downtown, that affects that area.
Yeah,
as
that
well.
was
Did affect that area as well.
That affected a lot of that, and now it's a wonderful facility, and it's great having it there. Still, you don't want to go there at drop off or pickup every day. If you're from around here, if you can rearrange your schedule, I would do that. But
yes, I was picking up my eldest grandson today, who is our tech director, and got stuck on North Avenue in front of the DPW garage, and some distance away. Yeah. And it's funny because sometimes when I drive through there in the afternoon, they're already assembling at like 1:30.
Oh yeah.
And school doesn't get out until 2:15.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Get that front spot so you can leave quickly.
That and it seems to be somewhat of a social event too.
That's okay.
Just like at all the other schools.
Right.
A lot of the parents like to especially the mothers like to come
Yeah.
and talk to each other while they're waiting to come out
Yeah.
of Greenwood
It is
School or
nice to
whatever.
have that camaraderie.
Yep,
I
yep.
look forward to it the few times that I
Yep.
pick up my grandkids. So I enjoy it.
Speaking of which, we had quite a nice, one incident notwithstanding, we had quite a nice event week and a half ago, Porch Fest, which was the
Yeah.
first time they did that.
It was a great success. Heard nothing but compliments, and I think people had a great time. And yeah, unfortunately, there was one kind of crazy incident, but no one got hurt.
Right.
So I think
Luckily.
luckily, and I think that next year will be. I think that we can look forward to having Porch Fest again.
Seemed to attract a lot of people downtown.
Yeah, that's great.
You know, because you had performances on the steps of the Civic Center. You
Center.
had performances in front of the Universalist Church. There was also performances in the parking lot at the MGLD. So
Right.
even
Yeah.
the people who were at Farmers Market got to enjoy it.
Yep. And this week, Saturday, September 21st, is Town Day on the Common, Wakefield Common, from 1 to 4.
Yep.
And that's going to be another great event with a lot of information out there, a lot of demonstrations, games, singing, bands, food. So it's really going to be a fun day. I think it's really a lot of cool things going on in the community.
There are.
There for people
there
to
are.
enjoy.
And the best place, especially for new residents to find it, is on the town website.
On the town website, yep. Yeah, and on the community calendar, which we also
which has
display.
a link. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wakefield.ma.us.
Wakefield.ma.us, yep. Very easy to get to. Yeah.
Any last minute things?
No, I
we've
think-
covered pretty much
yeah,
everything
we're good.
that's going on
Yeah,
right
I think
now.
it's, I think a very successful start of the school year. I'm very happy. Congratulations to the superintendent and the entire school department. It's always an interesting day, that first day of school. But it seemed to have gone off, without hitch. I mean, there's always going to be some delays that day, and we continue to ask people to be patient. But great day. The fall sports and music season is off to a great start. And again, our kids, our coaches, our band leaders and what have you have had to adapt because there's a lack of practice space. But we continue to do that. And just think in a couple of years, there'll be a wonderful state-of-the-art, brand-new school that will not include Crash Corner. Or so I'm told.
Well, actually, one of the things that disappeared was the cross-country teams.
Yes,
path through
for
the
now,
woods.
yeah. So
Yeah, for
that's got to
now.
be changed, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think on that note,
That means all the old records will hold, right?
for the moment.
For the moment.
For the moment, because that will change and there'll be a brand
Yeah,
new
exactly.
Sean Beasley track
Yeah, right.
where the current school is now.
It'll end up a little differently. But,
Something to look forward
Yeah.
to. Well, and on that note, I think we'll see you next month. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Take care.